The word healthy on that supermarket pack? In Australia, almost no one is required to tell you what it actually has to mean, because it doesn't have to mean much at all. So I did the thing nobody seems to have done. I put the two big shops' healthy ranges side by side, Coles and Woolies, and ran a fair test on them. Same method, same numbers, no favorites. And what came back isn't the scoreboard you're expecting. By the end, you'll know what the test actually found and why it matters more than who wins. I went through the own brand healthy, wellness, and better for you lines in both shops, category by category, reading only the numbers anyone can check. And this isn't a game, because the people who trust that word most are often the ones who can least afford to be wrong, managing blood pressure, sugar, cholesterol, paying extra for a healthy label that might be working against them. Here's the catch that breaks the whole thing open. The word healthy on the front is barely regulated. The numbers on the back are. So the front of the pack and the truth of the pack are two different things in both shops. Look at the lineup. Woolworths has its big health brand, the Green Macro. Whole Foods, organic, better for you. Coles does it differently. It scatters healthier choice. No added sugar. 97% fat-free. A leaf, a star, across its regular range. Different style, same promise. This one's the good one, and we believe it. And we believe it more than ever. Own brands have shaken off the cheap and nasty tag. We trust them, especially when money's tight. And most of us trust that little star on the front. And the very shoppers watching every dollar older Australians are the ones leaning on these healthy ranges hardest. But here's what almost no one knows. That word healthy and its cousins wellness, wholesome, better for you, they're not tied to any number in the rule book. Low fat is there's an exact limit. Good source of fiber is. But plain healthy, it floats. A pack can look healthy, feel healthy, say healthy, while the numbers that actually matter sit quietly on the back, telling a different story. So the only way to settle it isn't to trust the front of either shop. It's to test them properly, with the same ruler, on the numbers anyone can read. Which is exactly what I did. Let me show you what's regulated, what isn't, and then we'll run the test. But first you need to know which parts of that pack are telling the truth, and which parts are just dressed up to look like it. Turn it over. So, turn it over, and let's sort that pack into 3 piles. Because not all of it tells you the truth the same way. Some of it is law, locked to exact numbers. Some of it is rules, but only if they choose to play. And some of it is just words. Pile 1, the part the law makes them print, exactly, every time. The little table on the back, the nutrition panel. By law, it shows the same handful of numbers on every pack: energy, fat, saturated fat, sugars, sodium, and, most importantly, a per 100 grams column. That column is the great leveler. It lets you put any 2 products side by side, fairly, no matter how big the packet or how they've sliced the serving. This is the one part of the pack that can't dress itself up. It's the numbers, and that's that. Pile 2 words that are allowed, but only if they earn it. Low in fat, source of fiber, no added sugar. Those aren't free. Behind each one is a hard limit. Say, low salt, and the salt has to be under a set figure, or you can't say it. So, when you see those exact phrases, there's a real rule holding them up. They're earned words. And in this pile 2, that little star rating, it's a genuine system. It weighs the bad stuff, sodium, sugar, saturated fat, against the good, fiber, protein, veg, and gives a score out of 5. And it's about to become compulsory on every pack. But know its quirks. The company works out its own stars. It only compares with a 4-star cereal against other cereals, never against an apple. And it reads total sugar, so a maker can stir in fiber or fruit puree and nudge the stars up without taking out a single spoon of added sugar. So a heavily processed thing can still wear 2.5, 3 stars and look like a good choice. Useful for a quick look, not the last word. And pile 3, the biggest pile, and the emptiest. Healthy, wellness, wholesome, better for you, guilt-free. Here's the part that floors people. Sign. Invited, gadded, rutted, rudder, There's no rule behind any of those. Not a number, not a limit. A packet can shout healthy across the front with as much sugar or salt as it likes, and break no rule at all as long as it doesn't lie outright. Those words aren't measured. They're decoration. So there's the pack, sorted. The words on the front decoration, the star, a rough guide with a few blind spots. And the little table on the back, the one thing that's both compulsory and honest, which means the test almost writes itself. You ignore the front, you take that per 100 grams column, and you let the numbers fight it out. Let me show you exactly how. So here's the test, and the whole point of it is that I'm not the judge. The method is, it's simple enough that you can run it yourself on any 2 packets and get the same answer I did. No opinion, no favorites. One rule, applied the same way every time. Rule 1, compare like with like. Cereal against cereal. Sliced bread against sliced bread. Soup against soup. You never weigh a yogurt against a biscuit. That's not a contest. That's nonsense. Same shelf, same kind of food. That's the only fair fight. Rule 2, and this is the one that does all the work, use the per 100 grams column. Not the per serving one, per 100 grams. Because, and here's a quiet little trick, the company gets to decide what a serving is, and they choose it to flatter themselves. Make the serving small enough, and the sugar, the salt, the kilojoules all look tiny on the front. One brand calls 30 grams a serve, another calls it 45. Compare those per serving, and you're not comparing the food, you're comparing 2 made-up portion sizes. But per 100 grams is fixed. Same weight, every time, for everyone. Like comparing the price by the kilo, that's the one column they can't tilt in their favor. Rule 3, read just 4 numbers in that column. Sodium, that's your salt, the one that matters most for blood pressure. Sugars, saturated fat, the one for cholesterol. And fiber, if it's listed, the only one where more is better. 4 numbers, lower, 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 higher. That's the whole scorecard. And rule 4, the star comes last, and only as a tiebreaker. If 2 products are neck and neck on the 4 numbers, then, and only then, let the higher star settle it. The word on the front doesn't get a vote at all. And look, none of this is something I made up. It's exactly what the heart people tell you to do. And there are public databases that run this very test across 90,000 products. I'm just doing it in the open, with these 2 shops, where you can watch. So that's the ruler, same category, per 100 grams, 4 numbers, the star is the tiebreak, the front ignored. Now let's put the 2 shops' healthy ranges through it basket by basket and see what actually falls out. So I ran the 2 baskets through the ruler. And the first thing I have to tell you is the most honest one. Nobody, no university, no watchdog has actually done this exact test. Healthy range against healthy range, shelf by shelf. That's not a boast. It's the whole reason this video exists. So what you're about to see is me, at the shelf, reading the labels you can read too, not a verdict from on high. A walk down the aisle. Now, there is one big published scorecard, a giant database that scored tens of thousands of own brand products. And on it, the 2 giants finish almost dead level, about 3 stars each. A whisker between them. But, and this matters, that's their whole range averaged together, the biscuits and the broccoli and everything in between. It's not the healthy shelf. Nobody had zoomed in on that. So I did. And I'll start with the fair part, because it's true. Plenty of times, the healthy version earns its badge. I found cereals, breads, plain yogurts in both shops where the wellness line really was lower in salt, lower in sugar, higher in fiber than the regular one beside it. When it's done right in Coles and in Woolies both, so this isn't a hit job on either. But here's the pattern that kept repeating in both shops, and it's the thing to watch for. The healthy version is often better at the one thing it brags about and no better at the rest. 97% fat-free and more sugar than the regular one. Light, barely less salt. They fix the number on the front and quietly leave the others where they were. So the badge isn't lying, it's just answering a different question than the one your body is asking. And one more thing the numbers showed, Over and over, the dearer wellness pack often wasn't any better than the plain one in the same shop. When a consumer group put 160 products through this, half the time the cheap version and the fancy version were much of a muchness inside, and now and then, the cheap one won. Premium and healthy sound like the same word. In the per 100 grams column, they're not. So round one says something neither shop would want on a poster. The word healthy didn't predict the numbers. Not in Coles, not in Woolies, but it gets sharper than that. Because there are whole corners of the shop where that healthy halo glows brightest, and the numbers behind it are the worst. Let me take you to them. These are the aisles where the halo does its best work. In both shops. Learn these four, and you know where to slow down. First, the breakfast aisle, the heartland of the health halo. Whole grain, high fiber, protein, all true, all on the front. But turn over a lot of that healthy muesli and granola, and the sugar per 100 grams is sky high, not from nowhere. From the honey, the syrups, the dried fruit pieces, the chocolate folded through. And here's the twist that should make you laugh, then frown. Studies have found the reduced fat cereal can carry more sugar than the regular one. They took the fat out and poured sugar back in. Second, the yogurt fridge. Pots dressed in fruit, farms, sunshine, natural, no added sugar, high protein, lovely words. And still, often, a wallop of sugar per 100 grams, this time from sweetened fruit puree or juice concentrate stirred through. No added sugar can sit right next to a sugar figure that's nothing like low because the fruit paste did the job the spoon of sugar used to. Third, and this one's for anyone watching their blood pressure, the soups, the cooking sauces, the home-style ready meals. Heartwarming, natural, reduced fat, and quietly, some of the highest sodium in the whole shop, because salt is what carries the flavor. And light won't save you here. Take the fat out of a creamy soup, and they often pour starch and sugar back in, while the salt stays exactly where it was. One study of these chilled ready meals found most were heavily processed, and over half fell short of the dietary guidelines, and yet 80% still wore a pass mark on the star rating. The star said fine, the guidelines said not really. And fourth, the snack aisles, clever disguise. The baked chips, the veggie crisps, the whole grain crackers, all wearing better for you, made with veggies, whole grain. But baked isn't low salt, and made with veggies can be a whisper of vegetable powder in a sea of refined starch. Plenty of these carry as much salt, sometimes as much fat and energy as the plain crisps they're standing in for. The picture of the vegetable on the front did a lot of the heavy lifting. And notice the trick that ties all four together. A green pack, a leaf, a field. One true word on the front: whole grain, protein, natural, doing the work of a promise it never actually made. That's the health halo. It's not a lie. It's a feeling, and the feeling stops you turning the pack over. So step back now, with all of it on the table, and let's settle the real question this whole test was chasing: which shop, in the end, wins? Because the honest answer isn't the one you're braced for. So which shop wins? Let me give you the honest answer. The whole of it, both halves. Half one. If you held a gun to my head and made me pick, on that one big public scorecard, Woolworths' own brands edge ahead, on average, by a whisker, about 3 stars to just under. I'm not going to hide that from you. It's the public data, and it's real. But here's half two, and it's the half that matters. That number is almost no use to you at all, because you don't take home the average. You take home one packet. And in any aisle of either shop, I found Coles products that beat the Woolies one beside them, and Woolies products worse than the Coles. Both shops are full of brilliant choices and shocking ones, side by side. The bulk winner tells you nothing about the trolley you actually push out the door. So the real result of the test isn't a shop. Think back over the whole thing. The word healthy predicted nothing. We proved that. The star helps, but it's a rough tool, a tally of nutrients that can't even see how processed a food is, and only ever compares like with like. The one thing that settled every fair fight, cleanly, every time, was that little per 100 grams panel on the back. So, if anyone won this test, It wasn't Coles, and it wasn't Woolworths. It was the shopper who turns the pack over. And let me be just as honest about the limits of my own test, because you deserve that. That star can't see ultra processing. A muesli can score 4 stars and still be too much sugar for someone managing diabetes. Healthy depends on your body, your portion, the rest of your day. So this was never about crowning a supermarket. There isn't a perfect shop, and there isn't a perfect number. There's just you, the pack, and 4 figures that don't lie. So the answer to which shop wins is the one nobody prints on a poster. Neither. And honestly, that's the good news. It means you're not trapped. You don't have to drive across town to the healthy shop because it doesn't exist. You can fill a genuinely good trolley in Coles, or in Woolies, or wherever's nearest and cheapest the moment you stop trusting the front and start reading the back. So there's the test, settled. But a method on a screen is one thing. What it means for a real person, someone standing in that aisle right now, managing something serious, trying to do right by their own body, that's another. Let me show you. So let me put a face to it. Bev's 73. A few years back, the doctor said the words type 2 diabetes, and Bev took it seriously the way she takes everything seriously. She reads packets now. She looks for the good words. And in the chilled aisle she reaches, every time, for the yogurt that says no added sugar, with the fruit and the leaf, and that gentle, healthy green. She's trying. God, she's trying. But here's the thing nobody told Bev, and it isn't her fault. No added sugar doesn't mean low sugar. It means they didn't tip extra sugar in, but the fruit puree stirred through can leave just as much sugar in that pot as a regular flavored one. Turn it over, and the sugar reading per 100 grams is high. For Bev, watching her blood sugar, that healthy pot can lift it just as much as the one she carefully put back. She did everything she was told. The label just answered a different question than the one her body was asking. And there's a second sting, the one for the purse. That virtuous pot, the wellness muesli, the green box in the better for you corner. Bev pays more for them. $7, $8 a box, on a pension, because the front made her feel she was doing right. And a few shelves over sits the plain one, the cheap home brand, half the price, and on the numbers that actually matter to her sugar, it's the same, or better. She's been paying extra. For the picture, not the food. But here's where it turns, and it turns fast, because Bev already has everything she needs. She doesn't need a nutritionist, or a special shop, or more money. She needs 4 numbers and 10 seconds. The day she flips the pot over and reads the sugar per 100 grams, ignores the leaf, ignores the green, just reads the number, that's the day the aisle stops lying to her. She finds the genuinely lower sugar yogurt, and more often than not, it's the plainer, cheaper one she'd been walking past. And the gift in that is bigger than one pot of yogurt. Bev isn't trapped in the dear, healthy range anymore. She can build a week's shop that's genuinely kinder to her diabetes in Coles, in Woolies, wherever she already goes, and spend less doing it. The very thing she was trying so hard to do, finally working, because now she's reading the only part of the pack that was ever telling her the truth. The trying was never the problem. She just needed to know where to look. So that's it, isn't it? Bev doesn't need to try harder. She needs the 10-second habit that turns this whole long story into something she can do half asleep, with a trolley and a sore back, on any aisle, in any shop. And that habit, the one Bev's about to learn, it's yours now too. Let me give it to you, plain. So here's Bev's habit, and yours, the whole long story boiled down to something you do in 10 seconds, without thinking. 6 tiny steps. Most of them you've already learned tonight. Step 1. Ignore the front, the healthy, the light, the leaf, the green, the smiling fruit. Pretend, just for a moment, none of it is there. Step 2. Turn it over and find the per 100 grams column, not per serving, per 100 grams. That's the only fair ruler. Remember, the one they can't tilt. Step 3. 3 numbers. Salt, sugar, saturated fat per 100 grams. And here's the little card to carry in your head. Salt under 120 is lovely, under 400 is all right, Over 400 is the one to watch, especially for blood pressure. Sugar aim for under about 10 or 15. Saturated fat under 3. And step 4 fiber, where it's listed, more is better. In your breads and cereals, 5 or more is a good loaf. That's the whole card. Under 120 salt, under 15 sugar, under 3 sat fat, and all the fiber you can find. Step 5 now, and only now, glance at the star, and only against its own kind cereal to cereal, soup to soup, let it break a tie, nothing more. And step 6, the whole point, pick the one with the better numbers, not the better words, even when it's the plain one, even when it's the cheap one, especially then. Now one honest word, because this matters, and I'm not your doctor. This is about reading labels, not about your medicines or your treatment. None of that changes on my say-so. That's between you and the people who care for you. And those little numbers are a guide, not a rule book. Your own situation, your own doctor or dietitian, always come first. What this gives you is simpler than all that. It just lets you see what's really in the box, so the choice is yours, made with your eyes open. Because that's the whole game, in the end. The front of the box is built to make a feeling healthy, virtuous, safe. The truth's on the back, in the one little panel they can't dress up. And now you read it. But that panel only gives you the numbers. It doesn't tell you what all those long ingredient names actually are, or why a food's been built so you can't put it down. That's the next door to open, and our sister channel, Aussie Patch, is where we open it, pulling apart what's really inside the processed stuff on your shelf. That's where I'd go next. Here's the data. You decide.